memorizing quotes from like Abraham Lincoln and Benjamin Franklin and all these people, but it's pretty cute. He's make a sack of flour and make a big biscuit.
Well, he's not wrong.
Yeah. Okay, now I gotta read one of my readers. Did you play golf today, Sam?
Yeah. It was nice out there.
Yeah.
Went out last night. It's pretty nice.
Did you take the girls out?
No, the wife encouraged me to just go.
And you argued and argued.
He drug his feet. Yeah. I can tell. Well, I wanted to make sure it wasn't a trap,
Yeah.
so there was an element of clarification.
Yeah. Call the meeting to order. Have an invocation?
Why don't you join me in prayer? The gracious God, as we move through this particular week, we are mindful of your great love for all the world and for the ways in which you have made that real. We are mindful of the people of France and the particular devastation in their nation, and of many other places around the world. Hold them in your care. And now we pray that you also would be present here, guide the commissioners as they go about their work, that they might make decisions that are wise, decisions that will provide for the best of this community and allow it to be a place that is unique, a place that is life-giving, a place that others might remember with good thoughts, and that those who live here might be able to be proud of being citizens of this place. Gracious God, hear our prayers, not only those that we speak, but hear the prayers of our hearts also. We offer them in the name of the one who came, not to be served, but to serve. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor and Commissioners, we do need to amend the agenda this evening and add a proclamation for Fair Housing Month.
Okay. Proclamation celebrating 51 years of fair housing.
I move that
Do we, oh, I'm sorry, we got to move to,
I move that we amend the agenda to include the fair housing proclamation.
do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay. Proclamation celebrating 51 years of fair housing, City of Concordia. Whereas the Congress of the United States passed the Civil Rights Act of 1968, of which Title 8 declared that the law of the land would now guarantee the rights of equal housing opportunity. And whereas the City of Concordia is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all, and today many realty companies and associations support fair housing laws. And whereas the fair housing groups and the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development have, over the years, received thousands of complaints of alleged illegal housing discrimination and found too many that have proved upon investigation to be violations of fair housing laws. And whereas equal housing opportunity is a condition of life in our city that can and should be achieved, I, Mayor of Concordia, on behalf of its citizens, do hereby proclaim the month of April as Fair Housing Month and express the hope that this year's observance will promote fair housing practices throughout the city.
I was gonna say a couple of things about that. I always
Okay.
get this emailed to me, nobody locally comes in to present it.
Okay.
Kansas Housing Resources Corporation, and we've done this for, I think, at least 10 years, possibly longer. But there's been a couple times we had local grants, and NCRPC had us post this at the low-income and elderly housing complexes around town. So it's always a good thing to have this, and I'll send this back to them, and they present the proclamations to the governor when the state passes or presents a proclamation for signature.
Okay? Thank you, Steve. Public comments. This is a time where citizens are encouraged to speak publicly. We request that you come to the podium, state your name and address, speak respectfully, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Any public comments? None? Okay. Discussion? Listening tour?
This item was in your agenda packet last session, and apologize I did not get copies made again for this time. We held the neighborhood listening tours again this year. This year we went from 6 tours in 2017 or 18 down to 3 tours in 2019. And they were all held within 1 week. We didn't spread them out over the month, and so that seemed to work fairly well still. We held one at noon at the senior center, so they got to have a lunch, and then we got to visit with them. There were about 25 attendees at that session. Then we held 2 evening sessions, one at Valley Rental Center and one at the Nazareth Mother House. And we really appreciate all of these organizations allowing us to use their facility to host these, to host the listening tours, and thank all the commissioners for attending and being a part of that. We really do appreciate that. In the memo last time, we identified 4 main topics that the listening tour ended up covering, and that was infrastructure maintenance, property maintenance, services for citizens, and economic development. And as I look back over last year's notes, we really fit about the same categories as last year, and so it was really nice to see that our citizens felt about the same way about the city. Part of why I feel that that's important too is that it takes us a long time to plan and actually achieve something. So the fact that our citizens are still feeling that we're on the right track is really good for us, because then we can actually achieve some items. A couple items of note under each one of those categories. Infrastructure maintenance, one of the things of note is that repair of streets is important. The citizens really feel that way, and pleased to report that Ron and his crews have done a great job really trying to recover from the snow this past winter, the harsh winter. Pothole patching is underway, street repairs are underway. I think it's important for our citizens to know that we don't feel like we'll ever really get caught up to a point where we really want to feel caught up. As far as our budget goes, we have about the budget with the help from KDOT to do about 1% of our streets a year. Our street surfaces don't last for 100 years, so we're always going to be in catch-up mode. But we feel like we're really doing a great job of focusing where we need to focus and prioritizing. And we've talked about that pretty much ad nauseum here for the last year. So I hope that our citizens know that we're really trying to prioritize and do the best that we can there. We feel like, also it was shared that the city's doing a good job with street repair given the current budget. It was obvious that the citizens felt that infrastructure repair needs to be a priority, and I think I think the commission shares that priority. Please correct me if I'm wrong there. One of the comments that was made was that the city had purchased a paving machine several years ago, and why don't they do more? I know Rhonda shared on several occasions that it's a paving machine. We don't have a milling machine, so we can't do the mill and overlay like the contractors that we do, but we do some overlay. Typically that'll occur in alleys, some streets, as we can do, so we can match the gutter line so we don't impact stormwater runoff. I think that's really important to know. One of the comments kind of compared us to Beloit, saying, well, Beloit's able to do a lot more street repairs than what we are able to. The city of Beloit passed a half-cent sales tax several years ago specifically to help out with their streets. We have not done that in Concordia. We don't have that kind of funding mechanism, so we're still operating with our general fund revenue to be able to make that work. So those are some differences. Every community is different. Every community operates differently. So I think it's really important as we compare ourselves to others, we need to make sure that we understand the context of those comparisons as well to help put it in perspective. The second item was property maintenance, and 2 items of notes there were that the demolition program is really good, but more work needs to be done. The context behind that was that we still have a lot of structures in town, specifically homes, that we feel either need to be really rehabilitated or need to go ahead and come down. I know Bruno's worked hard to kind of keep track of some of those. He does have a list identified of homes that should be on that demo program. As opportunities come up, we do encourage people to take part in that. We appreciate the commissioner's support of that demolition program. One of the things we're going to be working on this year with the North Central Regional Planning Commission is to help us apply for a community development block grant to enhance our demolition program. We're just kind of starting to learn a little bit more about that at a workshop starting tomorrow in Salina, and then I'll have a phone call with the group next week to kind of help me understand what are the steps in applying for that and what does that take, then work with Bruno to make sure that we can make that happen for us. If we're part of that program and if we're awarded, it has the potential to double the amount of money that we have available to work within the demo program, so that's a very good thing. We can go from $20,000 a year to $40,000. That's a great thing. The other thing around property maintenance is that the annual citywide cleanup is a good program and more people should take advantage of that. I'd like to address that a little bit more in my manager's report comments, but I think we have seen this year that a lot of people have taken advantage of that program. And it does achieve the goal, one of the commissioner's goals of addressing blight around the community, which is cleaning up the yard, so that's a good thing. The third item that is of note is services for citizens. 2 items were specifically mentioned. One is general public transportation, and you have received a little bit of information on that, and we'll talk about that in more detail during the study session here after the meeting. The general public transportation serves not only, it's operated by the senior center, serves not only the seniors, but it also serves disabled and general population here within the city limits of Concordia. The other item that was of note, and it wasn't mentioned often, but did have a significant amount of discussion, was that quality medical care is really critical to our community and that the patient experience is critical to ensure that local citizens choose Cloud County Health Center for their health care needs. And I think it's important for everyone to remember that our commissioners and that our local elected boards all got together last fall and decided that local health care or modern medical facility was a high priority for our community. And I think it's neat that as we went on these listening tours, we found that people felt the same way. I think that was important. And additionally, as Mr. Garner said, reported to the commission back on March 20th, and then again at the intergovernmental meeting, Cloud County Health Center is really working hard to ensure that they're providing the services the citizens need and to provide them in a high quality manner, both of which are great for our community, so we really appreciate that support. Finally, under economic development, our community asked us to do more to promote the quality of life in rural Kansas, and that business development should be encouraged beyond downtown. So context to those discussions, some different qualities of life, everything from providing housing, good quality housing for folks, to providing more programming that is family friendly and serves all ages. There was specific mention of providing family program that does not involve alcohol, and as we talked about that during that listening session, we did identify several activities that were family friendly that did not involve alcohol, and so that was really neat to know that our community really is addressing those desires of the community, so we really appreciate that. Business development beyond downtown, I think the context of that conversation was that there was so some folks felt that there was a heavy focus by the Chamber of Commerce on our downtown businesses and that we don't want to forget those that serve on our Highway 81 corridor as well as out in our industrial and commercial area on East 6th Street too, that we have more than just the downtown businesses. So I think it's important to remember all of that as we move forward. Those are the basic topics that I wanted to cover and kind of provide a little bit more context than the memo provided. Do you guys have any questions at all or comments? We did have kind of a small attendance at these listening tours. We did have 25 at the senior center. They did serve a meal. I don't know if that makes a difference or not. At Valley Rental Center, we had 3 attendees, and at the Nazareth Mother House, we had 2. So I don't know how the commission feels. Is this something now we've done it 2 years in a row? Would you consider next year maybe taking a break, consider that we've got kind of similar feedback from them, and then see if we can boost attendance again the following year? Or do you have other suggestions for maybe how we could accomplish this? Maybe attend regular coffees around town and garner our input that way, or any other suggestions?
I think it's important, I think it'd be important to continue providing this opportunity. If somebody, I think we did a pretty decent job of promoting it and advertising it. I think we can continue doing that. My thought, I think Sam has said similar things, that I think we have an inviting environment. I don't think that it's ever been hostile on our part for people to come in and make public comments. So, and I don't mean this in anything less than a positive way, but I think it's good for us to have that opportunity. If our citizens don't feel comfortable or don't want to take advantage of that opportunity, I'm comfortable with that decision being theirs. I think the conversation that we had, even though it was only with 3 people, was a good conversation to have, and it's an important one to have. It wasn't that much of a time commitment, so I would feel comfortable continuing to offer. Maybe I think having 3 was good. I think that the locations that we served were good. I think the Mother House, Valley Rental, and the Senior Center kind of create opportunities for different demographic groups and physical locations. So I think that, I don't know that we have to do 6. I'm not sure of doing much less than 3, but I think it's a good opportunity, whether people take advantage of it or not. That can be their choice.
I agree with Chuck. It comes down to it is, people can start complaining all they want now, and my comment is, well, did you come to us when we went to you? And the answer is no, and I said, well, you had your chance. So that's the time to bring it up, not now. And put it this way, again, when you look around this room, how many people come in? And this is typical for our meetings. And so again, it's us reaching out to the people, and like Chuck says, if they don't take advantage of it, at least they can't say that we never listened to them. And that's the comment before we started this. Well, why should I come in here and talk to you guys? Because you don't listen to us anyway. And by going to them shows you, yeah, we do listen.
I think we can continue with it, but I think probably 2 meetings is plenty to have. And maybe, if we want to have one at noon someplace, that's fine. But, we can see, if we want to do 3, we can do 3, but I don't really see any necessity to do more than 2 with the turnout we had this year.
Okay. Kate and Christie, any comments?
I agree that it's a good thing to continue. I think there are multiple reasons why people don't come to us, and we don't know what all of those reasons might be, but I think that when we are approached by community members, it's important to consider that input as well. I mean, that's why we're elected to represent the community. So I think that it's great to give a structured opportunity, though, to provide that kind of input to the commission, so.
Same. I think we should keep them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate your coordination.
Action agenda, minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 3rd, 2019 meeting?
So move.
Have a motion from Sam. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Keaton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say same sign. Appropriation ordinance number 7. Do I have a motion for approval?
So move.
Have a motion from Sam. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a second from Christie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Renewal of license agreement with Keaton Lambert.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is a renewable license agreement for farming in the right-of-ways up on Kansas Street between 19th and 20th. Can you put the map up there? Exhibit A. Scroll it up. Okay. Right here's in between 18th and 19th, this alleyway right here is part of it that we're dealing with now. 19th Street that's platted, right there is part of it. And the alleyway between 19th and 20th right there, and 20th Street right here. And also a portion which would be 1/2 of Kansas Street. That's what we're talking about on this agreement. And he farms that, they've been doing it for years, Belden did it. So it's just renewing that. If we ever need to put something in, like a water main or sewer line through there or something, we still maintain that, so we can just go ahead and do it. So, do you have any questions on that?
It's the cheapest streets
No.
that we have to maintain.
Yes, it is.
Do I have a motion to approve the renewal of the license agreement with Keaton Lambert for the right-of-way use in farming?
I move to approve the renewal for the licensing agreement with Keaton Lambert for the right-of-way use and farming.
Motion from Keaton, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Chuck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you, Ron.
thanks, Ron. Bike share program, approval of bike rack locations.
I've brought this up a couple times to you guys, along with some other ideas to improve wellness throughout our community. OCCK and Blue Cross Blue Shield have made this become a reality. Are bringing this to Concordia. Let me bring it back up here. In regards to the city, there's really no obligation to us. We are supplying 2 areas to go along with the 81 connection bus route to supply the bike racks, to put the bike racks in. The really only thing that's going to affect us is right across the street is one of the stops, and we will lose 2 parking spots, one of them being in a handicap accessible, which will relocate it, but that'll keep the bike racks off the street, off the sidewalk, and kind of protect them right there by the curb as well. So just a quick thing about Zagster, who is the company doing them. You basically download the app on your phone. It tracks it, everything. All these bikes do have GPS, so if they get lost or broken or abandoned or whatever, they can track them down. They will partner with somebody through OCCK to keep them up to date, keep them fixed. You pay for it at a small fee. I don't know if they've established the fee yet. Do you know?
So my name's Claire Mullen, I'm the mobility manager for OCCK North Central Kansas. We're still kind of negotiating, but we have a couple options that we do have kind of nailed down. There'll be a pay-as-you-go option. We're roughly figuring like $1.50 to $3 per hour, or a yearly membership, and that's going to range from $40 to $60. And then we will also offer a discounted rate for students as well, and those are ranging from about $25 to $30 for a year membership, and then that $1.50 pay-as-you-go per hour option as well. I can kind of explain a little bit more also, since I'm kind of operating the program. With Zagster, they hold all liability insurance, and they also have placed us as a member underneath their insurance. OCCK has also purchased additional liability insurance as well to really amp up that coverage so that the cities are not held responsible. With this program, it's going to be a regional bike share program, so 8 communities are going to be included in this, Concordia being one of them, the others being Salina, Minneapolis, Belleville, Mankato, Beloit, Lincoln, Ellsworth. So each community will be getting a certain amount of bikes. We kind of base that off of population, demographics, things like that, to really gauge and get the communities the necessary amount of bikes to start out with. Zagster will, like he said, maintenance the bikes. Every 2 weeks, each bike will be maintained. Via the app, if an individual is riding the bike and something happens, via the app they're able to notify Zagster that the bike is then taken out of service until the contractor can come out and fix that bike, and then the contractor will release it back into usage. So very, very up to date on what's going on. They want to make sure that these bikes are very safe. Blue Cross is sponsoring the full program, so there won't be any cost to any of the communities. They've also agreed that as long as the bikes are being used, also the ability to expand in the future. So say here in Concordia, bikes are constantly being checked out, hardly any bikes left at the racks. There is opportunity to add an additional rack, additional bikes, things like that. We've also already had other communities that are not in the initial launch reaching out to us, how can they be involved? So it's a very exciting thing. Zagster is a nationwide company. They operate Wichita's bike share program as well currently, and Blue Cross also sponsors their program. Zaxter does regional bike sharing in the urban setting, so this will be the first of its kind of a rural regional bike share program. So I think that's something to say about our area that we should be really excited about. A good marketing piece for communities, economic development, but really helping our communities be with wellness and things like that, giving them opportunities that they might not otherwise have if they didn't live in this area. So, and then I just kind of also wanted to share what the current design is going to be. This design is what we are doing for the program itself. So this will be on our website. There'll also be a spot on each bike that will have this, and then the rest of the bike will be Blue Cross Blue Shield designed.
How is the payment handled?
I'm sorry,
How is the payment handled?
between Blue Cross Blue Shield?
No, between, someone goes up to the bike, where do they pay?
So via the
On your
app,
phone.
they'll input their credit card information. This is what really helps to make sure that the bikes get returned back to the racks and not just thrown places. Because if you don't return the bike back to the rack, it will continue to charge the individual. So even if they've purchased the annual membership, if they don't return the bike back within 24 hours, it's considered stolen, and then their credit card is then again charged. And that's part of the reason why we went with Zaxter or with a specific company as well. We really wanted to keep the cities out of having to worry about bikes being thrown places, maintenance themselves, things like that. Manhattan has a bike share program currently that's run by volunteers, but people aren't required to return the bikes back to racks. They're just thrown places behind dumpsters, on the sidewalks, things like that. And we really wanted to keep away from that. We want to keep our communities looking nice, but still offer a program like this. We don't want to have to rely on community members volunteering their time, because that could be very timely, and a lot of labor is involved in that. And OCCK also just doesn't necessarily have the time to travel between all these communities. So going through Zaxter, they hire their own contractor. They take care of all of that. So it just seemed like a good fit for everyone involved in it.
So the bike that is,
You can see it has a cord, or one's attached to the bike, one's attached to the rack.
Right.
So that's how they track what time it's been logged back in.
okay, but they have to go back in the same rack
No,
to stop it?
it
No,
can
they
go
go
to
anywhere.
either rack. So say somebody checks out a bike here downtown at 81 Connection behind there, and they decide, oh, I'm gonna, ride up to campus, do some things. They can then
How does it
lock the
unlock?
bike back
I mean-
up at that rack.
But they have to have a credit card.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
You do it through
Okay.
the app.
Tell you which
Right.
rack the rack's
There
might
is
be
going to
numbered.
be another option though that I didn't mention that we're still kind of trying to
Looks
hammer
great.
out
Mhm.
how we're gonna make it work. But they are going to allow, for example, say Cloud County Community College wants to purchase a certain amount of codes or time. They'll then be given a certain amount of access codes that they can hand out to their students, and then that'll be tracked that way. So organizations can do that, different businesses, things like that. If they wanna purchase a certain amount, they can do that and give those out at their discretion. So we're kind of offering a lot of different options to make it available to as many people as possible.
I'm really excited. I think, I've seen Wichita's do well.
They started out with 100 bikes the very first year, and it took off so much that Blue Cross agreed to sponsor an additional 100 bikes. So now they're up to 200. The other neat thing that we're still kind of working out how we're gonna make this happen, but with the GPS and people entering their information, we'll be able to pull reports. So we'll be able to see, who are the top riders in your communities, things like that. So doing some different kinds of events in your communities, recognizing those people, hey, thanks for riding, that's really awesome that you're using it, we appreciate that. Kind of just trying to get the community involved, so those would be some different options for the community to think about also, that we can share that information with you if you're interested in things like that.
Okay. Any other questions?
I think it sounds great. How soon will they be here?
So we're shooting for a launch date of June 1st, so very, very quickly approaching. So you're actually the first commission meeting that has come about, so so you're the first community, but we have 3 other communities on Monday, and then, another one the following week. So we're really trying to get the approvals as quickly as possible so we can make June 1st a reality.
So you're saying if we make this approval tonight, our friends in the media can promote us as being the first community,
Yes.
rural community to
Writing it down.
embrace
Yes,
this
we
idea?
can.
Just wanna write my story for me?
I think I just did, Toby.
So-
And then I don't know if you mentioned, but the other rack location will be at Cloud County Community College. They're have agreed to lay additional concrete next to the 81 bus stop on their side of the street. So that will be where the other one is going.
So are we gonna get a total of 16 bikes then,
You'll
or?
get a total of 10.
10.
They leave extra slots on the
Okay.
rack so that, say, 5 are there, but somebody comes up and wants to drop their bike off at that rack, there's still
Oh,
open
mhm,
slots.
mhm.
And then that also opens it up for additional bikes to come down the line in the future. So,
Great.
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you.
If any other questions, recommend that you approve the agreement as stated.
I would move to approve the license agreement with OCCK to install and maintain rentable bicycles located at 7th and Washington.
Second.
I have a motion by Chuck and a second by Sam. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Passed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Reports, managers' reports. Report.
Focus of this report, I'd like to put on the neighborhood cleanup, the annual citywide cleanup. Several thank yous need to be had, and that is definitely to the citizens for their participation in helping us to address our goal of blight by cleaning up their properties. Thanks to the commission for allowing us to do this. Thanks definitely to the streets and the water department this year for helping us out. This year, the water department gave a week of their time to help run trucks so that the streets could stay working on street repairs during that time. Also, thank you to the Community Foundation for Cloud County because they did award us a $3,500 grant this year. A portion of that goes toward the tire recycling fees that we incur for picking up tires. The rest of it was used toward purchase of replacement trash receptacles at the swimming pool, and they'll be the same type of trash receptacles that are at the downtown location that we received the grant for last year. So we really appreciate that. It's gone pretty well, I think. It's definitely a larger cleanup this year than it has been in the past. We had allocated 1 week to pick up, and I believe, and Ron, you gotta jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but we were able to pick up tree limbs within that 1 week, and that was it. And so this week we're moving on to the furniture and the metal and the tires and those items. That does eat into a little bit of our resources, so we're trying to kind of come up with some ideas of how to handle that and how to manage that better. I do have to say I am a little bit disappointed in this year's cleanup, and I need to give the commission some examples of why I'm disappointed. Disappointed at the lack of people being able to follow directions on what we ask for. So there's 2 things that we ask for. We ask them to keep to a certain list of categories that we will take. Those included tree limbs, car tires, appliances, furniture, and car batteries. We specifically excluded construction debris, and we still had folks put that out. So 2x4s, pallets, garage doors, toilets, carpet rolls were out on the side of the curb as well. We specifically excluded trash and bagged items and grass clippings and leaves, and we did find those items as well. So I am asking for help from different groups. If you have ideas on how we can better educate people to really stick to those items, that helps us out a lot. We also had trouble with people sorting their items. The reason that we ask for people to sort items is so that we can more efficiently pick them up and dispose of them. Over the years, we found it's more efficient to have our crews go around and pick up one type of item, dispose of it, come back and pick up another item and dispose of that. And the reason for that is how we have to sort it when it gets to its end destination. So we want to be efficient with the resources because, again, we recognize that it is our community taxpayers that are supporting our labor efforts in this regard as well. We also received reports and had observations of some folks from out of town coming in and having tires in the back of their pickup or on a trailer, stopping at one house, dropping a few tires, stopping at another house, dropping a few tires, stopping at another house and dropping a few tires. The intent of this program, again, is for Concordia residents. The intent of the program is to address blight and help people clean up their yards. The intent of the program is to help those that don't have the means to be able to dispose of these items themselves, people that may not have trucks or may not be able to lift and carry these items. So we had a little bit of disappointment there. We have a lot of scavenging going on, and for those people that did do their due diligence and sort their piles, some of the scavenging caused the piles to migrate back together. We did receive a report yesterday of a theft as a result of a scavenger, we believe. This example was we had a home that had placed a large tire out in their yard. They had called us. We shared with them that we weren't going to pick up large tires like tractor tires. We have car tires on our list, but not tractor tires. And so they were mowing their yard, and they stopped the mower, left it by the curb, went to move the tire out of the way so they could move. When they got back, the mower was gone. They called us and asked if we had picked up their mower. No, we hadn't picked up the mower. So somebody had gone through and taken it. So those are some reasons that I'm a little bit disappointed. And we had a large conversation this morning in department head meeting. You know, how do we deal with this? Is it just a tougher year because we're giving a little bit of tough love and saying we're going to stick to our list of what we're going to pick up? Is it a tougher year because we have a larger volume of participation? How can we help this? And so here, I want to share with you some of the ideas that were tossed out, and then would love your feedback right now, and would definitely like your feedback to help us make decisions before next year starts. We don't have to decide tonight, but just we'll have it for topic of conversation. One suggestion was to go to just tree limbs only next year, and the rationale behind that is, number one, it's easy for everybody to follow tree limbs. It's also manageable within a week's time period, and so that's an amount of allocated resources that we can easily allocate and not get too far behind on the rest of our work. I say tree limbs only is easy to understand, but there was another disappointment there too that we had this year, and we had a lot of people taking down large trees in their yard and cutting up the stumps and leaving those for us to pick up. When we said tree limbs, what we expected were branches that had fallen off trees, or people pruning their trees and shrubs and taking those branches. We really appreciate our small businesses here, and I know the commissions are a big advocate for small business development. If we take down those trees ourselves and then we use city resources to pick those up, we're undermining the small businesses that we have in town that do tree removal work for us, and we don't think that that's appropriate to do. Another option that we had talked about was just doing tree limbs and tires, and the reason we want to do the tires is because we know if those pile up in people's yards, they become a nest for vermin and for mosquito infestation, and that's a health hazard for our community. We want people to get rid of those tires. One suggestion that was thrown out is, could we partner with Champlins, and maybe either we have a central location either at the city shop, or we ask Champlins if they would designate a day to take tires, and maybe the citizens that bring those in would bring them in and pay a reduced fee, and the city would subsidize the other half of the fee. Right now, the city is incurring the entire cost, and we think that may be contributing to the overage that we're getting. Another suggestion that was made is, how about if we have our residents pre-register the items that they're having, and then we know what's out there, we know how much resources to allocate, we know where we're going to stop, we know what to expect when we get there. One of the things that we've encountered too is, because cleanup is taking so long this year, we go by and we do the tree limbs, we come back by to get the furniture, and more people have put tree limbs out because they still see the trucks around town, they don't understand how our system is working. And so then there's more out there, and we feel an obligation to go back and pick up that more. So then it just drags on even farther. Another suggestion that was tossed out this morning was what if we did special categories on certain days? What if our cleanup lasted a whole month, and we said the first Monday and Tuesday of the month we do tree limbs, the next Monday and Tuesday we do tires? I don't know if that would be too complicated for people to try to remember what happens, but maybe that might help us out with resource allocation as well. So those are some ideas that we had tossed out. Based on hearing kind of the conversations that we've had and the frustrations that we've dealt with, commissioners, do you have any questions or comments about neighborhood cleanup, observations that you've heard?
I would think this is something that we need to put a whole study session on and sit down, because, I mean, we pretty well left it open. We really had no rules, and you don't have rules.
Yeah, we had rules.
Well, we did.
They were pretty clear.
Well, yeah, but tree limbs,
Yeah, we did. We said tree limbs, we said car tires, we said batteries, we said furniture, we said appliances.
You
We
also
asked-
said
we asked-
no this, no
Yeah.
this, no
Right.
this.
Yeah, we had a list of those,
but
and
we
then we
never
asked
had,
everybody
we
to
never
have
had a
out.
rule to say they'll be left there if you don't do it.
We did share that in our publicity. We said we won't pick up items that are not in those categories. And then we also said, the items had to be out by a certain time. We were picking up between April 8th and April 12th. And
Or
if
it'll
they
be a
weren't out
nuisance
before
abatement.
April 8th, we can't guarantee that they're gonna get picked up.
Yeah. And then if they leave them there, it's a nuisance abatement situation.
Yes, yeah, and we've already started some of the nuisance abatement process in some areas for people that have left the items out that don't fit those categories. So we are taking that tough love approach this year.
Well, not to get into a discussion, but the idea of having tree branches in this period and something in this period, that kind of eliminates the problem of sorting, hopefully.
Mhm.
I think that
I
makes
like
a
that
lot
idea.
of sense.
Pre-sorted, yeah.
The other thing I thought about is if we are gonna put it all at once, would be, and I don't know the logistics of this, but you have your tree limb truck followed behind your tire truck, followed behind, so that there is, when they're coming down your street, this is the time, and we'll get everything, so that we prevent that cycling that would go through, and so you just have a train and everything going, but I
We
don't know
did,
if that's
we,
really
we
logistical.
did talk about that, and I'm sure that if we thought about it more, there might be other ways to work with it, but with our existing labor and equipment pool right now, we only have one front loader that we operate to pick stuff up and to load it in trucks. So that was another reason that we go around and do all the limbs first, because that loader's set up to do that. But you're right, that is another option to do that.
And I think breaking it down, one of those two ways would be ideal, and
But I agree with Sam, we probably will have a study session on it down the road and kind of try to firm things up, that's fine.
especially after maybe we get some, and I don't know if I love data, I don't love collecting data, so it's really easy for me to ask for information without having to put it together myself. But that might help us have an idea too of what we're working with, because I think
I think we should do the study session sooner rather than later, because, I mean, this way we'll
Got us started.
remember.
Well, it's all fresh.
And we do have some data as far as loads of different things and labor hours and what equipment was allocated toward the resources. We had to collect that for our grant reports anyway, so we'll have that for last year and for this year for sure, so,
I
yeah.
don't feel so bad asking for it.
No, never feel bad asking for information. We'll get you what we can.
I don't really
so.
feel bad, I just feel like it's an appropriate thing to say.
All right, so am I correct in understanding we want to schedule a study session sometime in the near future to talk through this a little
Yeah.
bit more and to bring
Yeah.
the data back to you, and then we can have that conversation?
A week or 2 weeks, a month after it's been concluded, but with it still
Okay.
fresh in mind.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
Amy. Thank you, Amy.
Staff reports? Bruno, you don't have anything?
He's not shy. You
Right.
can come up.
Okay, time's up. Commissioners? Sam?
Yeah, kind of go along with the street repair, how good of a job you're doing. My wife commented on that. She don't normally comment on that. How, not only how quickly it's being done, but the job that's being done as well, especially those giant holes that people could fish
Yeah.
in. But she was very complimentary about it. She's not that way very much. That's it.
Chuck?
Just a couple quick things. One, I really appreciate the community's effort or the city's staff's effort to try to help clean up Concordia. I think it's, seeing how much is out there to be picked up is pretty telling, and I'm glad it's going where it needs to go instead of sticking around. The second thing is I'm really excited about the bike program. I think this is a great opportunity. We've been really focused on improving health and wellness in our community over the last several years. And I think this is just a really neat option to be able to pursue that, especially with the way that the logistics are being handled. I think it's a great deal. I'm excited to see it go.
I want to, again, thank everybody for their efforts, because we had to move some crews around and keep doing two things at once, and that was, that's a great way to manage and just be resilient and think of different ways to get things done, and that's what we're doing. And the reason why it's taking so long, mainly is because we have a lot of stuff going on, and there was a lot of things on the curb this year, so I think everybody's doing a great job. Last weekend, I attended a mayor's conference in Salina, and it was a very interesting conference. One thing I did take away from talking with people, networking with people, mayors and city managers and whatnot, is I'm just really glad we don't have the problems that some other communities have, because some of them really, when somebody asks, what's your biggest challenge or whatever, that, some people just laid it all out, and it's like, wow, I'm glad we don't have those problems. But it was very interesting. The Lieutenant Governor was there, and he talked about the rural initiative that they have out now, and he's going to be doing a listening tour throughout Kansas. They'll be posting, where those are going to be held. I'd like for Concordia to be on there. But one of their top objectives is broadband in rural communities, and making sure that that we do have that, and trying to figure out a way, of course, to pay for it and do that's another thing. But they went over a lot of legislative stuff. We also had people from KDOT talking about programs, and we also had a gentleman that is a hostage negotiator, and he has a team of 8 people, and they do 50 of the largest cities in the United States. He lives here in Kansas, and he's highly trained. He went through the FBI school and a lot of other things, and basically his message was listening, and it was about a 4-hour talk that seemed like it was only a half an hour, because it was so interesting. You're just sitting there, and then when he got done, it's like you wanted to hear more, because he does this. He presents to corporations and just about any groups that want to have him, and I'm going to try to see if we can have something here in Concordia where he can talk and have it be at a venue where anybody that wants to go can go. But it's very interesting, and it's good for people that are supervising people. It's good for anybody every day as far as improving their listening skills and really getting the most out of a conversation. And so I thought that was very interesting. He is a big negotiator, and I shared with Toby this morning, his wife was selling the books out front, and I walked up to, he has a couple of books that are fairly thin, but they're really good books to read. His wife was sitting there, and I said, so your husband's this big negotiator and can talk people out of doing a lot of things. I said, does he talk you into and out of a lot of crazy stuff? And she says, well, we have 6 children. So I thought that was pretty good. So anyway, that's it for me.
I don't have anything this evening.
I have a little thing that's just kind of an irritant, and so I'm going to mention it. And I wish I would think about this when I'm not sitting right here, but it's really been bothering me. The clock at the Broadway Plaza is wrong. It's like 10 minutes slow or something. You guys notice that? Yeah, and I thought that was supposed to be an atomic clock. So I don't know how that happened. But we should still have a warranty on that, I would think, if it's not working properly. But at any rate, it seems to me that that should be an easy enough fix. Okay, thank you. That's all I got.
Just want to foster an attitude of slowing down and not rushing things.
Well, the problem is I seem to really be going that direction anyway, so.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Special session.
A motion from Sam, a second from Chuck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay. So, we're gonna